Hi, my name's Sandra. I am the owner and jelly maker at Goose Gourmet. I'm in my kitchen and I'm making small batches of pepper jelly at a time, and I'm going to make a batch for you today using all locally sourced ingredients. I'm going to start by preparing my peppers, green and jalapeno, rinsed, and I'm going to cut them up now and get them ready for the pot. So I've taken my green peppers, they've been washed and they've been seeded, and I'm roughly dicing them, or chopping I should say, and these will be put into the food processor. This is the base for my original pepper jelly. And 3/4 of the jelly is made with sweet peppers, such as these bell peppers. Then I will be putting in my jalapeno, which will be giving it the bite to really create the wonderful flavor. So I am going to get these in the food processor. I'm going to puree these till they're really smooth. When you're processing fresh green peppers, it tends to get foamy. So you have to take that into account. I'll usually let these settle a little bit to let some of that air out so that I get the true volume that I'm going to need for making the pepper jelly. I think this looks good. So I'm going to finish the peppers in the processor. So I've just processed my green peppers, and as you can see with fresh peppers, you're getting a lot of foam from the food processor. So it's very airy and light. So I'm going to let this sit for a little while until we lose some of that foam so that I can get a more accurate measurement. So I've got nice green big jalapenos here. They always range in size, small and large, but these happen to be really big jalapenos. So what I'm going to do is wash them and slice them, rough chop, and they'll be going in the food processor. Now, I'm not seeding these. I think the seeds add intensity and the flavor, and in the processor they're really going to mince up and there'll be very few seeds. So it's my preferred method. Some people will seed them, and I don't. Again, I love the added flavor that the seeds will give to the jelly. So in my processor, it'll take a little bit to mince because of the seeds, but it's definitely worth it. These are more dense peppers than the green, so you don't have the foaming that we did with the green bell peppers. So one thing I want to mention, I did not use gloves when I cut those jalapenos. And I'm being very cautious. I suggest to a lot of people, especially if you're new with working with hot peppers, wear some rubber gloves, possibly even a little face mask, because the fumes from these peppers can be really intense. Now I'm not going to handle these at this point. I'm going to be just from this processor and the spatula, they'll be going into a bowl and I won't be touching them. If I were to, immediately wash your hands, but really ideally wear gloves. I've learned from experience, especially with hotter peppers and the jalapeno. These look really nice. Quite well minced. There's still some seeds in there, but not very many. And I don't mind having a few seeds. Actually, I'm going to mince it up more. This is looking good. The seeds are almost all gone. There are a few seeds left, so we'll give it another chop. So I use a pretty heavy-duty food processor. I've been through a few of them, so I've got a little better quality, and for the amounts that I make, I really need something that's going to hold up and withstand and has plenty of power. So this one really works great. You could use a smaller processor, but if you're doing a lot of quantities, just keep that in mind. And the other thing, you could use a blender. I have a blender here, and I started out actually with a nice blender, but the processor I think works a little bit better. And it holds the amounts that I need volume-wise. All right. I need to put these jalapenos in my pot. So I need 2 cups. Two cups. So into the pot. Now we'll put the green peppers in. Six cups total. So I'm combining the peppers in a heavy-bottomed large saucepan. When these boil, they will really foam up and rise, so you have to make sure you allow a lot of headspace on your pot. So there are my 6 cups of green bell peppers, and my 2 cups of jalapeno all in the pot. So I've rinsed a whole lemon, and I'm going to slice this lemon up and seed it. And then this will be going also in the food processor. Making sure I get all my seeds out. This can be a time-consuming process. Look at all the seeds. So the lemon is a natural pectin, although I add pectin. This is a natural pectin, and it is in the lemon or lime, and in this case I use lemon. And it also gives the pepper jelly a nice fresh zing. Lemon enhances so many things in the kitchen. I use it in almost everything I cook with. Can never have too many lemons in the refrigerator. I've got extra jalapeno, which I will not waste. And this can surely be used for another batch of jelly. I don't mind that there's a little extra here. The tidbits, I don't bother to rinse it out. I try to put in as little water, if any, into my jellies. If there is any, it's only because it's maybe from the freezer. When I have thawed out peppers that I have frozen from the season prior to make jellies, so that I can have jellies and make them during the winter months when the ground is snow covered. Okay. Get this back together. Get all the extra off. There we go. We'll get those lemons in. Once in a while, I get a seed that I've missed. But once I put the sugar in the pot, when things have heated up, the seeds float right to the top. So you can easily pluck them out. So I will mince this lemon up really well. Also, I use my vinegar, and I'll put in my 2 cups of vinegar. And I'll usually add a little vinegar to my lemon to help with the mincing. So the entire lemon will go into my pot. just going to add my rest of my vinegar to my processor to get all the tidbits. There we go. Now I'm going to add the pectin. So the pectin is the agent that goes into the jellies, and it's what makes jams and jellies congeal, and so they're not so liquidy and they have that gelatin-like substance. So that's what I'll be adding to this. What's really important, pectin and the sugar ratio and the liquids or the solids that you have in your pot all have to be very well proportioned, because if they're not, they won't, it's the chemical reaction and it won't gel on you and give you the consistency that's important and necessary to make jams and jellies. Now, we'll turn the stove on, get it on about medium heat, and we'll let this all heat up. When this gets to just close to boiling, that is the time that I add the sugar. Reason being, the pectin has to dissolve in the jelly mixture here, in the liquids, and reach a certain temperature before the sugar can be added. Again, it's the chemical process, but anyway, how it works is it won't gel. So it's really important. So that's going to sit on the stove for a bit and do its thing. So while the pepper jelly is cooking on the stove, it's time to do a little cleanup so I can get ready. Once the sugar goes in and the jelly comes to a hard boil, I'll be all ready to jar everything up. The jars are in the oven. The jars are in the dishwasher. And they're on a sanitizing wash. They were clean jars, but in their boxes. So they're getting a nice bath. And when I take them out, they'll be steaming hot. And it's really important that everything gets put in the jars while the pepper jelly is still really warm. You have to, in order to get a good seal on the jars, I do a heat seal. So they have to go into the jars and not drop below 160 degrees when I put that lid on, so that it'll create a vacuum. So when I jar them and lid them, they go inverted on my kitchen table here for at least 5 minutes before I invert them back. And that's really important because, again, you need to get the seal. And I can tell by my lids of my jars when they have an indentation, I know they've sealed. When they've cooled, it's sucked out, the lids drop down. So that's when you open a jar up or something, you should hear a pop. And so you know then it's fresh and it was sealed properly so that it can last a long time in a cool, dark place, not in direct sunlight. And these jars of jelly have about a 2-year shelf life. Once they've been opened, into the fridge they go though. But I wouldn't expect them to last that long. So what I've also prepared are my lids. Now my lids are all cleaned, but I want to rinse them in really hot water, tap water. So I've done it once. I'm going to do it again. Get this really hot. And let these soak and let this hot water just run over these for at least a minute. because it won't be long and that jelly will be done and ready for jarring. I think it's time to add the sugar to the pepper. I usually do put in half my sugar, mix it in well into the peppers, and then add the remainder and just gently stir that in. Make sure there are no lumps and that all that sugar dissolves. Then this mixture needs to come to a hard rolling boil. And that would be a boil that will not stop boiling even during stir time. And I will do a hard boil for 2 minutes. My stove is turned up to medium high. And now I want to try to get all the lumps out. Or not out, but dissolve them, squish them along the edge of my pot. You can see that the nice bright green of the peppers when they first started cooking have now changed to a more olivey green. And of course that's through the cooking process. And none of my jellies will have any additives for extra color. They're all the natural color from the vegetables and the fruits that are in each of them. And once these are jarred, of course they'll be very liquidy. And to get the jelly consistency, these have to be fully cooled, and it will be many hours before they're actually where they're gelled enough and ready for serving. I don't see any lemon seeds. But at this time, this is when they'd float to the surface. And also any chunks that you maybe missed in the lemon or the peppers. They will appear on top. I think I've gotten all the lumps out and all dissolved. No, a few more. Some of my jellies, once they're finished boiling, will have a foam created on the top, and I skim the foam off. I don't want the foam in the jar. I want to take it off. It's usually very little, but it's not very attractive, and it's very airy, and there's no need for it to be in the jars. And the original definitely will have a little foam. We'll just leave that and let that boil, and I will stir it occasionally. So we're back to the pepper jelly on the stove top, and this is a rolling boil. It is furiously rolling while it's being stirred. So now I'm going to let that do its thing for 2 minutes. Okay. All right. 2 minutes have passed. The pepper jelly is ready to be jarred. I set it carefully down into my sink, Just be extremely careful. This is so, so hot. You can see it's still boiling and it's off the burner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off some of this foam that is developed during the cooking time. Don't need the excess foam. Okay, the foam is gone. I've got a ladle, giving it another stir. So I'm ready to get the jars out of the dishwasher. You need to work relatively quickly, as again you don't want the temperature of this jelly to drop too much. Again, you will not get the seal on the jars, which is very important. So I'm ladling into a 2-cup measurer. My lids are out of the hot water onto some fresh paper towel, ready for topping. So here we go. I do 8 at a time. This is what I found works best for me. And there we go. Take my lids, shake off any excess water. I've got an extra paper towel already in case I dribble on the sides. You want to have a nice clean rim. When you put your lids on, you want to make sure they're on there tight. So we'll get these right on my table here. Start my lineup. Want to space those so there's plenty of air circulation. With the rest of these. Ooh, they're hot. Okay. 8 more jars. I've got 24 jars to my cases, so it's nice. The 3 sets of 8 works perfectly. And when I'm finished the small, I go right on to my large jars. I put the pot right in the base of my clean sink because I want it down lower. It's easier to maneuver. It's all real close and handy, and it works well for me. It was trial and error, figuring out what was the best way, my best methods, and I find what works and I stick to it. These are 2-ounce jars, perfect size for gifting, for the traveler. They make wonderful wedding favors or for special events. But just look how nice. Great color. You see the little particles. It's a perfect batch. Again. Get these over to the table. Oh, a little clean on the edge there. Go. And the last 8. So everything's still nice and hot. I've worked quickly, steadily. You hope that company doesn't come a-knocking and the phone rings. It makes it challenging sometimes. Perfect. Over to the table. Three more small. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to move on to the large jars. For these, I have a funnel. Run it under a little hot water, and it goes. It makes the process so much easier. Keeps those rims nice and clean. There we go. To the next, get my lid, shake out the water, make sure it's on there nice, which it is, and inverted. Try not to stir the pepper jelly too much in the pot because it will definitely help the cooling process and we don't really want that. But I just do enough to distribute it evenly before I put it into the jar. Feels like I had a little dribble. We'll rinse it. This gets really sticky. Nice seal. Sometimes if that top's not on right, you're going to hear a little air release, and you know it's not on properly. looks good. All right, let's bring out a few more jars. Getting to the end of the jelly. Want to work quickly. If a jar does not seal, which sometimes will happen, especially towards the end of the batch, if that temperature's dropped too low, that becomes our own personal jelly to enjoy, or it becomes a sampler when I go to fairs and shows and farmers markets. Long as it gets put in the fridge, that's what's most important. We have enough to do part of another jar, which will be for sampling purposes. I can see this will gel up nicely. You can see it already forming on the sides of my pot. That's a good sign. Oh, we might get another jar here. Wonderful. Ta-da! Done. So we've got 9 large jars, 24 small, and I've got a little extra that I will put into a little ceramic dish here. Again, nothing will go to waste. This will be for our consumption, probably tonight. Oh, it smells so, so good. Something about the original. I have all these other nice varieties, wonderful varieties, but you know, I always come back to the original. This is where it all began. This is the beginning to all the jellies. And I think that I might have to sample that. Let me get a spoon. It's cooled down enough. It was the bottom of the pot. Oh, just lovely. I can never have enough pepper jelly. So if you like this video, please like the video. And remember, if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. That would be great. And also, if you would like to buy jellies, by all means, check us out on Facebook, on Etsy.com, or you can call at this number and we will get it right off to you. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you for watching at Grey Goose Gourmet. Again, I'm Sandra, Grey Goose Gourmet, the home of fabulous pepper jellies. Goodbye. I'm going to show you today how to make cocktail meatballs with pepper jelly. We usually have a lot of people over for the Super Bowl, family and friends, and it's time to start thinking about what am I going to prepare and make. So today, I'm going to do the cocktail meatballs, and I want to show you how to do it. Simple and easy. First thing you do, tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in it, and I'm going to put the fiddleheads in. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of minced garlic. Fiddleheads are related to asparagus. But these can also be a little bit bitter. So with a little bit of sugar in it,